All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to try to tackle a question we got from a listener who is just getting started with analog photography.
Sounds fun.
They are feeling a little overwhelmed by the sheer number of 35 millimeter film stocks out there.
Yeah, I can understand that. It can definitely be overwhelming.
So that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Okay.
I'm going to break down the main types of 35 millimeter film, kind of give you a sense of what each one's all about, so you can go out there and pick the right film for your photography.
Excellent.
Now, just to kind of give everybody a little roadmap, we're going to be looking at four main categories:
Okay.
cine film, black and white film, color negative film, and slide film.
All right, so like a good range, like a spectrum,
Yeah.
covering kind of all the bases.
So let's jump right in. First up, cine film. Now, this is a really interesting one, especially if you're a fan of that classic cinema look.
Right, I mean, that's where the name comes from.
Yeah.
You know, cinema, motion picture, it's film stock that was originally intended for shooting movies.
Okay, so it's got that Hollywood pedigree.
Absolutely, and it often shows up, in the images. It has like a very particular aesthetic.
In what way?
Well, you often get very interesting grain structures. Sometimes it's fine grain, sometimes it's a little more pronounced, and that gives it that sort of filmic feel,
Yeah.
It's that texture. And you often get very beautiful color palettes with cine films as well. Very kind of soft, nuanced tones.
Our listener was mentioning that cine film can be a little trickier to work with, though. Why is that?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a beginner film stock. I mean, some of them can be, but, in general, they tend to be designed for the specific lighting conditions that you find in a professional film set.
Right.
They're looking for consistency. They have ways of controlling the light very, very carefully. So it can make it a little more sensitive to variations when you're shooting in the real world.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it can sometimes require a little more attention during development. Not all labs are equipped to process signed film stocks, so you might need to hunt around a little bit to find the right lab.
Okay, so a little more advanced.
Yeah, you could say that. But,
Yeah.
the results are often worth it.
Well, and that's the thing with film. It's part of the journey, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just about snapping a picture. It's a whole process. All right, let's move on to another classic, black and white film. Now, this is one that seems like it will never, ever go out of style. Why is that?
Well, it's kind of timeless, isn't it? I mean, it has that kind of classic appeal. There's a simplicity to it. And I think, by taking color out of the equation, it allows you to focus more on composition, on light and shadow, on form, on contrast. So, it's about capturing like the essence of the scene or the subject in its purest form.
And I was reading that black and white film is very popular with people who develop their own film. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, it's definitely considered to be a more accessible entry point into home developing. The chemistry involved is generally more straightforward. It's a little bit more forgiving than color chemistry.
Okay.
And so it's a great option for people who want to really delve into the, kind of hands-on aspect of analog photography,
Right, yeah.
from capturing the image all the way to developing and printing it. And there is a real sense of satisfaction in that whole process.
We should do a whole deep dive just on developing. We might even have some listeners out there who are really into that.
Absolutely, that would be a good one.
Okay, but for now, let's move on to color negative film. This one, I'm guessing, is probably what most people are familiar with when they think of 35 millimeter film.
Yeah, it's definitely the most widely available and most versatile.
If you've ever used a disposable camera, you've shot color negative film.
Exactly.
It's known for its vibrant colors, its ability to handle a variety of lighting conditions. It's pretty forgiving.
Yeah, it's like a workhorse film stock. You can take it out in lots of different situations, and it handles highlights and shadows pretty well. You get, a good overall exposure.
Now, one thing I kept seeing over and over again in the research was this term C41.
Yeah.
What is C41?
So C41 is just the standardized development process that's used for most color negative films. And this is great because it allows for consistency and predictability. So wherever you get your film developed, if they're doing C41 processing, you kind of know what to expect.
And most labs are going to do that right.
Exactly, yeah. It's pretty much the industry standard.
All right, so we've done cine film, black and white film, color negative film. That leaves us with the last one, slide film.
Yes, slide film.
Now, slide film has this kind of almost mystique around it in the photography world.
Right. It's often seen as the choice for really serious photographers.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about it like it's this magical, almost mythical thing. What is it about slide film that's so special?
Well, Slide film, also called reversal film, produces a positive image directly on the film.
So you're actually seeing, like, the final image on the film strip.
Exactly. What you see is what you get.
Wow.
And it's known for its incredible sharpness, very vibrant colors, and generally very, very fine grain. The colors are usually described as being more saturated or punchy compared to color negative film.
Okay, and slide film uses a different developing process too, right?
Right. It uses a process called E6, which is a little more specialized. It requires more precise temperature control during development.
Okay,
So not all labs offer E6 processing.
got it.
But, if you want to create images that really have that wow factor, especially if you're shooting landscapes, nature photography, anything where those vibrant colors are really going to shine, slide film is a fantastic option.
Wow, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from like old Hollywood to home dark rooms to just like everyday photography. And it's amazing how many different options there are for getting creative with just this one format.
Yeah.
So for you, out of all of this, what stands out as like the biggest takeaway?
I think the big takeaway is that choosing a film is all about understanding your creative intention. It's about what are you trying to achieve? Are you drawn to the cinematic look of cinefilm? Do you love the kind of stark beauty of black and white? Or maybe you crave that super vibrancy of slide
So
film?
it's not just about the technical specs. It's like, what feeling do you want to create with your photos?
Exact.
And for anyone listening, I think the best way to figure that out is just to try it. Pick up a roll of film that speaks to you, get out there, shoot some pictures, and you'll be amazed what you discover. And film is forever.
That's right.
Thanks for tuning in for another deep dive. Until next time, happy shooting.
Happy shooting.
Bye.